Good evening, folks. Welcome back to a Wednesday night hobby hangout. Not a Monday night live stream, a Wednesday night hobby hangout. So, hello, folks. Apologies for Monday. The flight I was on, I got back into the UK on Monday evening, was delayed a little bit, and I wasn't getting back quite as early. I think I managed to get through the door just after 9 o'clock or something. So it would have been cutting it a little bit fine on Monday, shall we say? So yeah, as promised, I said I would do a Wednesday hobby hangout. So here we go. The lighting's obviously a little bit different tonight and stuff, and we've got cameras above our head and all this kind of stuff. But what it means is, it means that when we do this, we can do our painting and our hangout stuff. A little bit of a preview of what I'm going to be painting tonight. These frost claws, I think they're called, from Mantic Games, from the new Northern Alliance models. So I got them sent out to me this week. Well, actually, they were due to come while I was away, and I managed to redirect the parcel. So it came on Tuesday, and I thought, perfect to build and put a bit of paint on for tonight. So yeah, so I apologise for the this kind of setup and stuff like that. And I've got a lapel mic on tonight as well, because what I found when I used to do the painting stuff, that when I turn away from the microphone like this, it ends up sort of like it goes up and down the volumes, if you like, because the microphone's not in front of me, because the painting stuff is. So yes, all the technical stuff that I'd kind of forgotten about, because it's been so long since I did a hobby hangout. So let's start and have a little look and see who we've got in the chat. Looks like we've got loads of people chatting nice and happily already. We had Clyde dashing in, was in at like 2 o'clock this afternoon. Hello Clyde, how you doing? I don't know if you're still around, mate, but thank you for popping in and saying hello. Got Super Pumpkin Man saying good morning to everybody as well. He was in earlier on, saying hopefully be able to catch the whole stream. We had Gavin as well, saying seems I'm a little bit keen tonight. Hello Gav, how you doing? Who else we got? Tasty Brain Drain. Hello to you as well. A bit of chat on about NIDs getting talked about there. Blizzards, good evening to you as well, mate. Andrew Fairbanks, good evening, buddy. He says when the world needed him most, he returned. For those that don't know the kind of the background to these hobby hangout stuff, they started during lockdowns. So essentially, I'd done Monday night live streams for years, but the Wednesday hobby hangouts ended up being a thing because we were all locked down, we were all stuck at home, we weren't going out gaming, you couldn't really get to see your mates and stuff. And so we started doing these hobby hangouts as a bit of a way just for everybody to get together and have a bit of a natter. There wasn't ever really like a topic like there sometimes is on Monday nights. I tried to paint a variety of different models. If anything got sent to me, I would kind of try and show it off on the stream a little bit, or if I was hobbying on something at the time, it was a good excuse. Like if I'm going to sit and paint something for the channel, then I'll do it on a hobby hangout. And the reason they stopped was because the views, I would say, didn't justify and I want to phrase this the right way, because it's like the views didn't justify the streams, because YouTube has a weird way of that if one of your videos doesn't do particularly very well, a live stream or a video, or it certainly used to, the next one was kind of hindered by a little bit, and the hobby hangouts were kind of hurting the channel a little bit, even though I really enjoyed them. And it was where this is where Patreons come from and that kind of stuff, because this is where the community all hung out, I should say, and everybody got together. It kind of got to a stage where I was thinking it's actually doing more harm than good, and I missed doing them. So to hell with the algorithm, essentially now. I'm much more focused on just doing the stuff that I enjoy. The views are nice, but I'd rather keep 100 people happy than worry about trying to please everybody. So yeah, that's why they're making a reappearance again now as well. Yoakum, hello to you, mate. He said he's painting some Star Wars tonight. Very nice. John Estel, good evening to you, mate, as well. He's got some werewolves on the table. Blizzard says, after only 3 hours sleep and then on board and with a new PCP. I don't know what PCP is, mate. I'm done in. I'm going to listen and just eat my popcorn. You just chill, mate. You just chill. As long as you're all right. Yoakum saying he's got pneumonia, so I'm not sure I'll be able to manage to be around to the end. Sorry to hear you're not very well, mate. The speedy recovery for you, sir. Gav says he's doing some touch-ups on this month's challenge. Nice one. Who else have we got here? Hacksan's in as well. He said he's priming some dungeon doors from League of Dungeoneers. Not familiar with that, mate. Hope it's a good one. Big Dave, good evening to you, fella. How you doing? Jez Hunting, always good to see you. Jez, how you doing, mate? Clyde says everyone's got their mug of hot paint water to sit back and relax with. Absolutely. Wayne says, good evening to you, Wayne, by the way. He says, hi all, this is just what I needed to boost my mojo. This was always the point, mate. It was just, I think people got into a bit of a slump during the lockdowns where there was a case of like, well, what's the point in painting? I'm not playing any games. I've got nothing to kind of sort of look forward to. And this was just that little bit of, he says, spit that again. This was just one of those little things just to kind of try and help folks out really a little bit. Zingbo, hello to you, mate. He says, my hobby this evening is mostly involving painting flame patterns onto power fists. Possibly because I'm a fool. Well, that would be one explanation of it, mate. Yes, absolutely. Who else we got? We got Paul Inman. Nice to see you, fella, as well. He says, hobby hangout. Whoop, whoop. Peter Stockdale, good evening to you as well. Jez is saying, how's your leg? Do you know what, mate? It's on the mend. It's not doing too bad. I was away at the weekend. I haven't got to wear like that boot thing anymore now. So I've got the boot off. I'm off the crutches and stuff. I'm managing to walk about with a little bit of a limp and stuff. But I was away at the weekend and I tried my best to just try and kind of like act as normal. And I think I overdid it a little bit. Yesterday it was really sore. So I kind of rested it yesterday a bit. Today I had to take my little boy to school, so I had to walk to school and back, and then go and pick him up later on as well, and there and back, because my wife was away at work with a car. So I've done a few miles today as well, and it's not too bad at the minute. We might pay the price for it tomorrow, but I feel like it's kind of I'm getting a lot more mobile now, mate. To be fair, so yeah, that's good. Let's have a little look here. Major Tom, good evening, Ed. How are you? Type 40 Tortoise is saying, typical, I left my magnifiers at home. I'm probably risking it here because I'm not going to be using my my magnifying glasses things that I normally do, because I look like a right knob. So I might have to just try and take it easy. Where else we up to? Colin Wakeland, good evening to you, mate. Blizzard said he's got 2 of the Northern Alliance ambush starters coming my way. I couldn't believe those birds are plastic and not resin. Now, if only they'd do the same with the snow trolls. I'll tell you what, let's just have a little quick look here. I don't think the snow trolls will be far off, mate, to be fair, because they're PVC, aren't they? So, I've got some sprues kicking about here. Let's just... It says making a right old nice. So, what we've got here... These are the sprues that the birds come on. So let's, I'll put that down. I'll put a piece of white kitchen towel down so you can see the kind of sprues. So these are the sprues that is that better with a black background? It might be actually. Let me zoom out a touch. The birds come on 2 sprues. So they kind of join together like that. I mean, they were snapped off for delivery just to save some space. But what my only downside to these, and if I scroll a little bit more, my only downside to these is this one sprue makes 1 bird. So what happens is there's only 1 body on the sprue, but there's 2 heads, there's 2 sets of wings, there's 2 of the kind of the stands, there's 2 of the different dwarfs, but there's only 1 body. If there were 2 bodies on it, and I appreciate it's a pretty packed sprue, but if there were 2 bodies on it, you could get 2 birds out of this sprue. As it is, this is all of the things, as you can see, what's missing from this. So nothing missing from this one, and 1, 2, 3 things missing from this. That's all I had to cut off the second set of sprues to make the second bird. So that was a bit of a shame, I'll be honest. It feels very much wasted, but the birds are they're excellent. They're really, really nice in plastic. I'll come back to those in a second and show you them in a bit more detail. What we've also got is some of the new, the Icekin Hunters and the Berserkers as well. So let's zoom in a little bit on these fellas. Let's come in. And there's some really nice stuff on these as well. I wonder if that one is better with the white behind it, is it, a little bit? So you can kind of see, well, you can tell this is live, can't you? So these are basically kind of like the Icekin Hunters, and the Berserkers are kind of like sort of elf type creatures, which bodes well for new stuff for the elves in the future and stuff. But I think you basically get 5 per sprue. I think the 2 sprues are exactly the same. Yeah, they are. But you get 5 per sprue, so there's 5 different kind of sort of bodies on them. There's lots of different head options, there's lots of different weapon options as well. So you've got the hunters, you've got these nice, let me just get out there, you've got these nice bows here, if I can just have a look at those. And then if you're taking up the berserkers, you've obviously got these nice little elven axes there. That might actually be better with the black background, to be fair. You've got these nice axes here as well. And there's sort of a lot of different pelts and quivers for the arrows and stuff. Some nice kind of very Viking-esque looking kind of weapons and things like that, which fit the Northern Alliance really well. So yeah, so that's what you get. You basically get 20 models of the Ice-Skin Hunters or Berserkers. So you can build them as a troop of 10 each. And then you get 2 of these birds as well. So let's have a quick look at those before we start cracking on tonight. So I was really, really impressed. So these are primed. These are primed appropriately enough Raven Black, which is kind of like, it's essentially Colour Forge's version of Corvus Black, which is kind of a very grey black, which I quite like as a base coat. But the detail on the feathers and stuff. So let's if I zoom in here a little bit and see if I can keep the focus. Bearing in mind as well, just that these have been primed as well, so I've maybe lost some of the detail. You can see all of the sculpting on the feathers. Now, the stuff that Mantic used to do from China and stuff, I don't think we'd have saw that much detail. The stuff that, look, I'm assuming Luigi's done these. The stuff that he's put onto them is really, really nice. You can see the feathers on the tail there as well. Loads of detail. You can see the little ropes and the little kind of the fixings and stuff like that. And then there's 2 different birds' heads. So there's that head and there's a second head as well. And obviously the different heads fit on the bodies. You can see it under the wings there and stuff like that, where everything's kind of like strapped down. And now they do have these kind of rock things poking out of their backside. Now they do come separate. You don't have to put them on. But obviously, how else are you gonna basically put them onto your base? You could use like sort of flight stands or something like that. But no, they're really nice. And then obviously to have riding on top of them, we have these dwarves. So these are the different dwarves. Now they come with a couple of weapon options, and they come with about, I think it's 3 or 4 different head options as well between the 2. So if you're going to have multiples of these, you can kind of change them around a little bit. So this one, the chain here, as you can see coming across, basically fits to the front of the wings here, so you can see there's a little groove in there. That's where the chain fits to, and then they basically stand on the back of the ravens. So this is one of them. This is the head option I went with for this one, with the spear. You can see some lovely detail on them, and it does bode well for for future dwarfs and stuff like that. So it does kind of it does look very, very nice. And then the other one I've got built here is this one as well. This one's got a different head option. You can see there he's got a different weapon as well. This one's like kind of like a glowing sort of crystal rock type thing in his hand. I mean, I'm saying it's glowing. Mantic have painted theirs on the box art as glowing kind of thing. So, but you can see the details in the faces and stuff. I'm trying to make sure I keep that in focus. They're really, really nice. Like the kind of the fur around the collar and stuff. See, like even like the stitching across the back of the jacket and things. And one thing that some like Mantic's orcs, I would say, for firefight, lost some of the details down the sides from the old manufacturer. The new stuff coming out of Archon Studios, which is from Poland as opposed to from China, they're fantastic sculpts. So yeah, absolutely beautiful. So yeah, I'm really pleased with how they turned out. Excuse me, I'm really pleased with how they look. Let me get a drink of water. So yeah, I'm going to be cracking on with them tonight, I think. Next 5 or 10 minutes, once I have a little look and see who we've got in the chat and stuff, and bits of chit chat on. Let's have a little look here. John's saying, in the middle of the lockdowns, these were a huge help to me. Contact with other nerds and a bit of chat. Me as well, mate, to be honest. Like, I just put water all over my tail there. Excuse me. from a completely selfish point of view, mate, they were a massive help to me too. So yeah, I do appreciate kind of, and it was one of those things. I think the reason, like, as the views started to drop off on them was around the time people started getting out and playing games again and that kind of stuff. So I completely understood it, but I kind of missed them myself. So it's time to bring them back. VGA, good morning, mate. How you doing, fella? Hope all's well. Somblin saying good evening as well. He's working on his Goblin Cave. It's 14 inch by 14 inch. So much clump foliage. I tell you what, mate, that'll cost a bit. And he's used large amounts of gravel fixer. Now he's a bit dizzy. That'll do it. Primary care provider. That makes sense now, mate. I know what it is. Michael, he's in dry brushing some mechs today. Griffin is now on the table. Very nice, mate. Ed's trying to work on some abandoned projects before starting Shatterpoint. I get that feeling as well, mate. I know exactly what you mean. Type 40 Taurus says, let's see if I can finish more Judge Dredd. Nice. Jess is not hobby at night. He said, it's been insane on the work front and he got up at 4 AM for a long day on set in the rain. Saw dolphins though. That was cool. Nice one, mate. Clyde saying, hey, Andy, one of those American mobility scooters. I would say I'm pretty close now to being back to normal. I wouldn't say I would be up and like kind of like running about and stuff. But it's more just a bit of like a dull ache most of the time now. It's a bit tender at times as opposed to being painful and stuff. And I've drove to school and back now, which is like it's like only about a mile away or something like that, just to make sure I can kind of drive again and things like that. Not sure I could do a long drive, but I'm starting to get to the point where I'm kind of back to normal, I would say. Let's have a little look here. Mutton chops, because Evening Old says, thanks for keeping my ears busy while my eyes and hands work on my Jabberwocky. You are very welcome, mate. That's one thing as well. I also have to keep an eye on the chat as well, because it's easy for me to just kind of like sort of drift off and forget I'm streaming at the same time, forget that I'm meant to be talking to people and stuff like that. But also everybody else drifts off and starts painting, listening to me, and forgets that, like, you know, it's nice to have some interaction as well. So if you're not hobbying tonight, feel free to say hello and have a bit of a chat in there as well. VG saying it's 6 AM and still in bed, out of routine since being back. I can imagine, mate. I mean, I don't know how long it takes you for the jet lag and stuff to kick in and start getting back normal. I mean, Jess says, sounds like you need good old-fashioned leeches on that leg. You're not wrong, mate. And Jess is saying those birds are ace looking, plus spare wings and head. That's Kid Basher's sprue. Yeah, it's just a bit of a shame that it didn't have an extra body on it. Like, and then to be fair, like, I mean, because you're only going to build the two birds generally one way. So you'll build one with the wings open and one with the wings up, and then you'll build one with the mouth open and one with the mouth closed, and one on the shorter flight stand and one on the longer flight stand. So it's not like there's lots of kind of options. It's just such a shame that there's so much weight wasted really when one extra body part or one extra body, which is made up of 3 parts, would have meant to like would have saved all that waste really. That was all. Yeah, people saying, yeah, they're neat, nice details, nice sculpts. Big Dave saying the dwarves are beautiful. BG saying I do wire instead of the tactical rock stands. Yeah, the only thing I'd say, mate, is you're going to put them onto like an MDF base for Kings of War. So by the time you want something almost like sort of decent to mount them on, and I think that just kind of is a bit more sturdy for gameplay purposes. But yeah, if it was just kind of like a bit of modeling or something, you certainly there's not like a big hole in the bottom of the body or anything like that. So if you decided you wanted to kind of mount it a different way, that's an option as well, to be fair. Let's have a little look here. Vijay says, how do you go and line up that interview with Luigi for the channel? Any chance of doing it live so we can get in some questions? Or maybe we could pre-submit some questions. To be honest, mate, I completely forgot about it, but I will. We spoke to each other about it a while ago at the Mantic Open Day, so I know he was up for it. Let's get some sort of preempted questions in from the community and stuff like that, mate. It'll be good, because I think that those ones they tend to be quite long, because there's lots to chat about, and sometimes you can end up like editing bits down just to kind of for brevity a little bit. So yeah, it's maybe worth doing it as a pre-recorded rather than a live stream. We've got thumbnails here. He says joining from work for a bit. Nice to see you, Thumb. Livid Fish Paints, hello to you as well. She's blocking some custodies in here till my glue arrives tomorrow. I can't wait to get started on Kings of War tomorrow. Speaking of Kings of War, don't forget, folks, as well. Let me plug the slow grow as well. If you do fancy joining in, he finds the right key. That's the one there. If you do fancy joining in with the Kings of War slow grow, I'm running the Kings of War slow grow army challenge, which is going to last for 11 weeks. It started on Friday last week, so we're almost at the end of the first week, so more like 10 weeks now. Where the idea is to get you a small, well, let me rephrase that, to get an army together to be able to play Kings of War during the Mantix global campaign. And I'll move across a little bit there. When I say that, what I mean is, I'm not going to necessarily put a point limit on it. Like in the past, I've done like 1,000 points of Firefight or 2,000 points of Kings of War. What I want to do here is I want to encourage people to finish a project. So if you want to just play Kings of War Ambush and you want to do a 500 point army, or you want to do a 900 point army, for example, then you set that as your target, and I will help and motivate you through those number of weeks to try and get to the end. If you've already started an army and you need a little bit of push to get it finished, that's what we'll try and do. We'll try and help you along and do that. If you think you can absolutely smash out an army a full 2,000 points or 2,500 points in the next 10 weeks, by all means, knock yourself out, you go for it. So I don't want to limit it. I want it to be inclusive rather than excluding. I want anybody, no matter how, if you just want to buy a Kings of War starter box, an ambush box, and build and paint that and play your first games with it, join the slow grow challenge and sort of join in with everybody else. I'm going to be making some videos over the next 10 weeks about things like sort of list building 101, kind of what's the basics of that, a little bit about the background lore, about what the global campaign is. I've got an interview set up as well with the guys at Mantic to talk about the future of Kings of War and around the campaign and stuff like that as well. So there'll be some Kings of War content coming over the next few weeks as well. I'm going to be sort of plugging away doing a small ambush army myself as well. I haven't decided yet between Northern Alliance. I've also got bit of break there. I've also got a Night Stalkers ambush starter set as well. So potentially, if I've got time, I might do both, and then I've got an army to play against. But yeah, I think I'm going to be starting small, starting with ambush, and then kind of see where it goes from there. So yes, if you are interested in joining in, head over to Facebook. You look for BlackJack Legacy Kings of War Slow Grow Challenge 2023. In fact, can I do a invite thing, or can I share the link to it? I think if I copy that, copy, and then if I go back to the chat, I think I can put it in the chat. And there you go. There's a link to the Slow Grow Army Challenge there as well. Type 40 Odyssey, and don't forget to tip your waitress. I'm here all week. Bobby Clark, hello mate. He said, I'm having a great time airbrushing with those TT combat paints, super smooth. You done much with them? Do you know what, mate? I did a hobby hangout live stream with them. I've not done a huge amount of painting, but you know what? I might use some of them tonight, mate. I've got a load of the too thin coat stuff that I've not done a huge amount with. I've got a full range of the TT combat ones as well. He says, trying to get it to focus. Of course it won't. There we go. The TT combat ones. So yeah, we'll just do a bit of mix and match tonight, I think. Where are we up to here? Paul Richardson, hello mate, how you doing? He says, not hobbying but designing some exciting new minis for Mantic. Nice one, mate. Look forward to finding out more about them. VG saying, submit questions in the Discord or maybe collab Google Doc. Yeah, we'll sort something out, mate. I'll probably maybe set up a separate page or something like that, or a separate channel in the Discord or something like that, and we'll get all of the Patreon members and the YouTube members questions and stuff like that. Thank you very much there, VG, as well, for coming to join the slow grow. I would love it. I think, if I remember right, I think we're at about 80 people at the minute. Let's have a little look. VJ's just asked to join, so I might as well let him. Do I know who he? Oh yeah, go on, I'll approve him. We've now got 81 members. It would be lovely if from tonight's stream we hit the 100 mark. I'd love to get to 100 members in there. That would be good. Let's have a little look here. Just as saying I have to get some more of those goblins sorted and we can have a game, dude. I've got plenty of terrain. That would be good, mate. I'd definitely be up for playing like a small kind of ambush. Maybe like 500, 600 points or something like that, just pushing some models about for a bit of fun. Mordecai saying this will be a good excuse for me to finish up my Night Stalker's Scarecrow hordes. There you go, mate, even better. And Type 40 Towers is saying I would love the Nameless to get an update for Dead Zone and Firefight. Yeah, I don't think Dead Zone and Firefight will be too far away from getting some love, because Kings of War is taking a big chunk of stuff at the minute, and rightly so, leading up to the global campaign and leading up to Clash of Kings and stuff like that as well. So anyway, enough of that chit chat. Let's get the paint out. So hopefully the sound and everything's okay for you folks there. You can hear me all right. And I think what we'll do is, will we start with the birds? I'll let the chat decide tonight. Oh, there you go. It's because I've been moving all the cameras around and stuff like that. Do you want to paint the birds? Do you want to paint a dwarf tonight? What should we make a start on? I'm sure we'll move around. Yeah, Mordecai's saying, yeah, don't use Facebook, but I'll be there in spirit. Yeah, and thumbnails saying, do you have to be a Facebook member? Yeah, I know people don't do Facebook, but I don't do Facebook as such. I just use it for all my miniature stuff, really. So it's not like I'm kind of sort of surfing around and getting the world's negativity. Ed saying, sounds crystal clear. Perfect, mate. That's what I want to hear. Thank you very much. Dave saying, start with a dwarf, and Jez is saying, start with the crows. And Type 40 says, this stream's already gone to the birds. And we've got Matthew saying dwarf birds, and Zingbo saying birds first, please. I tell you what, well, Luke Pryor, hello, mate. Nice to see you. I think we're getting a bit of a mixture of both. But I think what we'll do is, I think I'll start on the dwarf, because then I can leave it to dry a bit, and we'll come back to the bird as well, and then we'll get some paint on both tonight, I think. So, just trying to kind of pick out what I'm going to do with it. I'm going to keep these roughly like quite sort of beigey browns, I think, something like that. Luke saying paint the left hand side of the bird and the right hand side of the dwarf, something like that. And Luke saying, John saying it's like a choose your own adventure. I don't want to get our dwarf killed. I know it. Livid fishes are the birds on 150 by 50 bases. I haven't got my tape measure, mate, to be fair, but they're on relatively large bases. What's that? Yeah, I think it will be 150 by 50, that, mate. Quite a sizable base. So, right, what was I doing? Yeah, I was going to start painting this, wasn't I? Right, so yeah, what I was saying was I'm going to try and kind of keep it basic, very kind of Northern Alliance, browny, kind of beigey, I think it is. So I think what we'll do is we'll start. Let's just get some dark browns, I think, on that jacket. And in the spirit of asking about the TT combat paints, let's use some of those tonight, eh? So I think we'll start with matte brown. So these might need a bit of shaking, I think. Yeah, VG is saying it would make sense for the Nameless to get an update. As soon as I bought Night Stalkers, they got an update. This is saying Fleshy Bird and Crow Black Dwarf. Yeah, I was thinking, I know they're meant to be like the ravens, they're called frost claws, but I couldn't decide what kind of colours to do them, to be fair. Luke says, I thought I was sold on abyssal dwarfs, but I just looked at the salamanders. Sweet mother, they look great. The abyssal dwarf Armada ships have just been announced as well, haven't they? I'll tell you what, I can't get the bloody top off. There we go. Edsian Scale 75 resin bases Kickstarter launched today. I'm tempted by the jungle bases. What? I don't think I've even heard that was a thing, mate, to be fair. Jez is saying, can you pull the camera out a bit, dude? Yeah, sorry, mate. I'd zoomed in before, hadn't I? For the close-ups. There we go. Keep forgetting it's a bit bigger on your screens. So Let's get a brush. We use that one. No, let's use. In fact, yes. That's it. Size 2. Go with that. You are welcome, Jez, mate. Sorry it was a bit close. Right, we'll just. I'm just gonna. I might as well just bring that in while I'm doing this. Paul says his dwarf fly has been repurposed for the Abyssal's happy days. Nice, mate. Right. So let's make a start on this. You know, I'm going to zoom in a little bit, mate. Otherwise, it looks a bit lost. This little dwarf. There we go. And we'll make a start on his jacket here. Tell you what, I've not done a huge amount of painting lately, so this is a bit of a treat for me as well. To be fair, always feels quite sort of chilled and relaxed. I think what it is like when I'm hobbying on my own, like sometimes I even do it like in silence. To be fair, it's quite relaxing just to be quiet and stuff like that. But I do quite enjoy sort of painting with others, and I don't really get the chance to do that very often. So the live streams are a bit like that. Hello, Kay. How are you? Didn't I recognise that dwarf? Yes. I think I've forgotten how to paint on stream now. That's the problem. Trying to remember to keep it in shot. It's a skill that I kind of learned over time, and then I've completely forgotten how to do it. So yeah, I apologise if it keeps going out of shot tonight, folks. Mordecai saying I'd be tempted to paint them as violet backed stones, maybe using speed paint over silver colour shift paints. I think I'm going to kind of go almost sort of blacks, blues and whites, kind of almost magpie like a little bit, like with the feathers, I think. Cardos Dogforge, good evening to you as well. Jez is saying about the Kickstarter from John Hodgson. Do you know what it is, mate? I've lined that up in my on my laptop there to have a look at later on, because I think it's a really cool idea. I really like what he's doing, and I think it's good to kind of give it a little bit more eyes on it and stuff like that. So yeah, I'll be chatting about that a bit later on, mate, when I take a little painting break. Paul's not gonna lie, I was gutted by the initial reaction when it was announced for the dwarves. I think I missed out. I missed out on the chit chat there. I don't know who's what we're chatting about there. So yeah, my plan here is that I mean, in the spirit of painting an army for the slow grow challenge, of which I guess I'm involved now. I guess I've started with this. I'm not going to be kind of going super high detail or anything like that. The plan is to try and kind of keep it relatively straightforward, relatively simple, and just rely a lot upon sort of dry brushes, washes, that kind of stuff. So it looks like he's kind of got like a metal plate on his chest there. So I think we'll paint that metallic because it'll be a nice little kind of break of breaking up the browns, I think. Because I'm gonna try and keep these relatively browns, beiges, kind of creamy colours, and then with a wash over the top just to tie it all together. So yeah, we'll want some metallics in there just to break it up a little bit. So that'll do for his jacket there. And yeah, as far as the TT Combat paints go, I would say they're nice and smooth. They're going on nice as well. Coverage is pretty good. They thin down nice. Nice to paint with. I would say over the the Duncan Roads ones. The Duncan Roads ones seem to be like quite sort of not bland, but they're quite flat in their colours. There's lots of kind of browns and beiges and kind of muted tones, where the TT Combat ones are very much more kind of brighter in your face colours, which I quite like that. Let's have a little look. As I was saying, he bought one of these prints for the backgrounds a couple of months ago and love his art. Yeah, exactly, mate. Yeah, they are nice. Mum said you left forever. I knew you'd come back from the quick mart. That was the cigarettes. Gav says the Kings of War ambush sets, are they doing one for each force? Essentially, mate, I think that's the plan over time. They've done them for most of them at the moment, and I think the plan over time is, as new plastic kits come out, like the Northern Alliance stuff at the minute, they will gradually kind of update them and stuff like that. So in fact, I'll leave that out so I can. What we'll do is we'll go with a bit. This one is called Mummified Khaki. So we'll go with this one now. Oh yeah, Kay's answering the same thing there as well. Yeah, as new plastics come out, but not necessarily going back to current older armies. Yeah, I think it just depends upon what's next on the list. Some of these haven't even been opened because I haven't used every colour. Get a bit of this going. See how this one goes on. You are welcome, Gav. Right. One down a little bit. Luke says, seems odd TT Combat have not done a full set of the paints, only a small starter set and then individuals. Interesting, mate. I hadn't realised that they hadn't, made, because if you backed it during the Kickstarter, it definitely was a full set of paints. So maybe that's just their way to kind of to sell it through now. Maybe they're assuming the kind of person that would buy a full set would have backed the Kickstarter or something like that. Just as I think ambush sets are great, good value for loading minis, but I'm not an overwhelming amount of them. Absolutely, mate. I mean, I think what happens is it's a bit like the 40k thing where everybody assumes you need to start with like a 2,000 point army. Like you need to have a full army to play. And to be fair, up until not that long ago, you kind of did really, and that was, which is my camera. I moved all the positions around so I was on camera when I'm painting, but I keep forgetting about them. So yeah, I think up until not that long ago, you kind of did really. You know, even just to dip your toe in, you were talking sort of like over 1,000 points of models, just to really give it a kind of a try, or at least get a feel for what the game was like. Where with the new ambush rules, so ambush rules are essentially sort of the same main sort of game as its big brother, the full-scale Kings of War, with a few tweaks to your list building to try and balance them out at smaller points levels. Because obviously if your opponent decides to be a little bit beady when you're playing at smaller points levels, it was very easy to kind of to overpower smaller armies, and like some armies are a bit more elite, so would have very few units and that kind of thing. So what Mantic have done is they've done a little bit of tweaking to the list building, which has allowed them to make Kings of War Ambush a good stepping in point. And these little ambush boxes, which is getting back to what the conversation was about, what we started talking about, are a nice little kind of hobby project. Sort of like two or three units in a box, 3 units in a box. Nice little hobby project. Nice way to dip your toe in. Not expensive either, so it definitely giving you, like, sort of, if you're wanting to get younger ones involved and sort of, you know, rather than spending hundreds of pounds on models and then if they find out it's not for them, it is a really, really good stepping in point. VG saying some quality progress on the man cave yesterday, but then I may or may not have picked up 30 plus new board games from an auction last night. Oh my god, mate. Yeah, Luke's saying it might come eventually. Yeah, it might. Well, it might do, mate. Yeah. Ed saying is ambush still I go, you go. It is, mate. It's essentially the same rules, mate. It's essentially the same rules, but with a few tweaks to list building and things like sort of holding objectives and stuff. But yeah, it's still essentially the same game. If you learn to play ambush, you'll know how to play full-scale Kings of War, give or take a few bits and pieces. Casey and I love ambush. I think it's a superb innovation. I've got multiple ambush forces on the go. Reminds me 90s army sizes you'd see in White Dwarf, but modern rules. Yeah, I completely agree as well, Kay. I think it's I mean, people who paint for painting's sake and not worried about gaming and stuff like that. You know, you do whatever you want to do, kind of thing. But folks who want to paint to play quite often get a little bit demoralised when, like, you know, that army's not taking shape quite so fast, and you can almost just go, oh, you know, I'm not going to bother. I'm going to give up, even though you've done a cracking job on a few units. You've made a good start. Like, you haven't kind of made the progress that you wish you had, kind of thing. Where I think with a smaller scale introduction, and to be fair, Games Workshop are trying to do something similar as well with the combat patrol stuff. And good luck to them with that as well. I hope that, because I know they've tried to do something like that in the past, and again, the main bulk of the community kind of want to play sort of full scale. I'd like to see that becoming a more prominent thing for new players getting in. Anything that gets new people getting into the hobby, giving it a try, and seeing if it's for them, for themselves, without getting put off by the kind of the big job ahead of them. I'm all for that. It's one of the reasons why I love doing these kind of slow grow stuff. I just think it's a perfect way to introduce friends and family and kids and that kind of stuff. Just like, you know, look, we're all in it together. We're all just sort of trying to put our armies together. Let's give it a go and see where we get. And a little bit of kind of moral support as well from each other. John says, we've been playing a few games of ambush. It works really well. Did a mini tournament in an evening with experienced players and a few games with new players, getting a couple of games in one night. That's good to hear, mate. I hadn't realised you'd been trying out the smaller scale games. I've got quite a bit on my plate at the minute, in terms of I've got quite a bit of work at the minute, and obviously my foot's still healing, and then I'm on holiday for a couple of weeks. And then I get back from holiday and I have to have an operation. And I'm going to be kind of out of action for a few weeks. I'm hoping I can still kind of like live stream and stuff like that. But I'm certainly not going to be kind of leaving the house going anywhere. So that's kind of August, a little bit of a write-off in terms of sort of getting out to play games and stuff. But I'm hoping, my plan is that I'm going to be at the open, not the open day, the Mantic event on the Friday before Clash of Kings. My plan is just to be there to join in with the big global campaign thing, and almost like to celebrate the end of our slow grow as well. So I'm hoping to be well enough by then, and if that's the case, I might also sort of turn up at Clash of Kings as well and do some video footage and some interviews with people and stuff like that. So Captain Castle says, just made it. Had to take daughter to music lesson and then to circus. 4 hours of sitting in the car while she has fun. The joys of parenting. And Ed saying, yeah, hard pass for me. I don't enjoy the I go, you go games. I think, to be honest, mate, I think for me personally, it really depends on the game itself and how fast they play and what's involved in them. Because I would say that, like, sort of games like Kings of War, for all they are I go, you go, they play a lot faster than some others that are I go, you go. And I've played some alternate activation games that I wouldn't want to play again either. Not because they're alternate activation, but just because it's like they're a bit of a slog, they're a bit complex. So for me, I think it's more the individual game rather than the type of rule set. But I totally get it. We all like different things. Absolutely. VG saying Combat Patrol seems to be getting a lot of buzz for 10th edition 40k. You know what, mate? I'm personally not sure. I've kind of avoided all of the 40k stuff. I've kind of kept a little bit out of it. I'm not up to speed on it. I tried to avoid that weekend where every YouTuber and their mother unboxes the latest Leviathan box. So I've been a bit sort of out of the loop when it comes to 40k. It's not to say I won't go back and sort of revisit it once it dies, once the sort of the hoo-ha dies down a little bit. But at the minute, I'm kind of just cracking on with the other stuff that I'm enjoying. Andrew Fairbanks says mini agnostic for the Kings of War painting challenge. I mean, it's not necessarily a painting challenge, mate. In terms of it's an army challenge, if you like. And it is being sponsored by Mantic. They've been giving up some 20% off codes. So for those that don't know, I've got some codes on for 20% off from Mantic store. If you're buying from them, if you join the Slow Grow campaign, there's a 20% offer code in there. So whilst it's your army, you're going to play it, mate. You're going to paint it. You do whatever you want. I would say, because it's being supported by Mantic, that I would encourage you to use Mantic models. But hey, at the end of the day, it's your army. It's your money. It's your choice. So, just kind of picked out some of the fur bits around there. Get on camera just to kind of around the edges. I think we'll come in now with. In fact, do I do his trousers light as well? I think we'll come in with like a different kind of beigey colour for that one. Mordecai saying to Major Tom there, to be fair, rank and flank moves off faster than usual. I go, you go. Yeah, kind of what I was saying, mate. And Jesse saying, those big army boxes are incredible value, but a bit much. A couple of units and a couple of fun things is an attainable amount. Yeah, it's definitely about the balance. I mean, it's one thing saying it's really good value, but then in the same breath, it's like it's completely unmanageable and I'll never get it all done. Actually, I think what we'll do is I think we'll go black on the boots. So we'll carry on with these TT combat paints. What we got here? Captain Castle saying bolt action, although I don't play it anymore, is fave activation system. Pull an army dice from a bag which dictates who's next. I quite like the new Shatterpoint way of activating, where you're basically pulling cards to see who activates next. And there's some kind of abilities to allow you to manipulate that slightly, but not completely kind of sort of like determine how you're going to activate. It's a bit more, it's random with some control, I would say. I quite like that as well. Tasty Brain Drain saying, I think I may have said this before, but not going to lie, Combat Patrol may get me into 40k, something I never thought would happen. I think what Combat Patrol is doing for 40k is essentially what these ambush boxes are doing for Kings of War as well, really. It's just giving you a manageable way to buy a predetermined mini army, if you like, and make a start. So anything, like I said before, anything that encourages people to give stuff a try, doesn't matter what the game is. Like, just getting folks into the hobby, getting them to try it, see what it's all about, sort of get rid of some of the preconceived ideas that sort of, it's either it's male dominated, or, well, it is male dominated, but it's welcoming as well, I would say, to other folks. Not every community is kind of sort of frowns upon people joining them. There's a wide world out there of folks, and everyone's welcome. Kay says, those colours make me think of a bomber jacket. These dwarfs need flying goggles. Do you know what it is, Kay? That is exactly what was kind of on my mind when I first put that layer of the brown kind of leather down. Was kind of like, yeah, they feel like kind of Biggles now a little bit. So there's some black for the boots. I think what we'll do now is, we look like we're wearing gloves, or do we look like we've got skin there? I think they're probably gloves. I think I might go back to that darker brown and paint their hands with brown gloves on. It's just, Ed saying, unfortunately, apparently most of the combat patrols are built really sub-optimally for real armies. Yeah, I think for me it's less of a concern. I think I wouldn't be buying one to then grow the army from there. I'm more likely to buy a combat patrol, build and paint it, play it at a combat patrol level, and then potentially buy another one and use that as a separate project rather than sort of getting into the more serious kind of big scale list building 2,000 point army type things. Both from how long it takes to play a game, just interest as well from not having to paint lots and lots of necessarily the same models. So I think for me, if that was the way I was going to go, that wouldn't necessarily be an issue for me personally. But I completely get your point, and I'm sure if anybody's starting a bigger army, the combat patrols might not be the most optimal way to play. By the same stretch, not everybody's looking for the most optimal way. Some people are just looking for the cool models. So Casey, the Mecha Kaiju was intended as an overdrive rival and potentially Dead Zone, getting a new lease of life with the Vault may help. Yeah, I mean, I saw that today in the Mantic video, and it's a bit of a shame for Overdrive, because I really like that game. I think it's a good, fun kind of beer and pretzels thing, and I would say I wouldn't say Mantic have forgotten about it, but I would say that it's not been front and center, shall we say. It's not really had the love it maybe deserved. So it's nice to see those remaining models getting a bit of a breath. Right. One beauty with this is that because I'm just basically going to bath the whole thing in a wash at some point. It doesn't really matter if I miss any little bits. Let's have a little look here. Captain Castle saying, yeah, being colourblind, trying to get colours right in bolt action stressed me out. The pressure isn't there in fictional games like it is in historical stuff. It's funny that I really wish that pressure wasn't there in historical games as well, to be fair. Anything that makes it easier for people would be good. Mordecai saying, yeah, there's some good options out there. Have you tried one-page rules, Age of Fantasy Regiments? Very simplified, but quite fun if you just want to move some trays around. It's interesting you mentioned that, actually. Them one-page rules contacted me recently, and I've had a bit of an email conversation backwards and forwards about them, because essentially they're releasing this new thing, which basically is a way to create an army for whatever models you've got. So no matter what game you play, so if you're a 40k player, if you're a Malifaux player, if you play a Firefight, if you play, I don't know, Marvel Crisis Protocol, for example, they've got a way to kind of create armies using the models that you've got. So that they're trying to really push this kind of very much miniature agnostic thing. So I'm kind of having a bit of a conversation with them. I need to understand a bit more about it and see if it's something that I want to get involved in or not. But it's interesting. Right, let's get one of these greys. This one's called Shadowing Grey. I don't think it's that different from the grey we've painted, but I want to put it down. Let's have a little look here. BGC and Mantic seem to be cranking out the dice games for their licensed IPs as the new easy money. I think it's a different audience, mate, isn't it? I mean, at the end of the day, it's not everything has to be about miniature skirmish games and things like that. You know, you can just do dice games, card games, that kind of stuff. But yeah, I mean, it's obviously just been the licensing show, so I'm assuming that Ronnie's been busy chatting with the licensing folks. It was interesting to see the deal with Skybound raising its head again a little bit, which means that, you know, does it mean anything or does it mean nothing? It could potentially mean that the sort of Walking Dead stuff could maybe come back in some way, shape or form. I had a chat with Ronnie at UK Games Expo, and I was saying that we should definitely have some way of bringing back the Walking Dead rules, even if it's not for the Walking Dead game, because the rules themselves are great. So yeah, I think I'm just essentially painting the same colour grey almost here, just over the trousers. I'm just trying to tidy up where I've had any bits of brown stuff on them. I think we'll come in now with some metallics, and we'll pick out some of the armour plate stuff. So there's a nice one here called Gunmetal, which is a nice colour. In fact, let's have a little look in the chat here as well. Yeah, Paul's saying Rob left and he was the driving force behind Overdrive. Yeah, he wrote the game, I believe, didn't he? VG saying I almost picked up a copy of Overdrive for 10 quid, brand new on the last day, but it wouldn't have fitted in his luggage. Oh, I guess I would have known that Mechagodzilla was if I watched the video instead of just looking at Vault pictures and guessing. Yeah. Captain Castle says, how are one-page rules monetized? Do you buy the rules? So essentially, one-page rules are a Patreon subscription. So you can you subscribe to their Patreon, and for that you get access to lots and lots of STL files. So you can 3D print their armies. Let me just clogged up a little bit. I can see there's been a disaster waiting to happen here. See if I've got something to clean it with. So yeah, so you get STLs for their 3D printable armies. You also get access to all of the one-page rules, skirmish games and full-scale games and all that kind of stuff as well. A lot of it's free. There's a little bit of extra stuff that comes. I'll tell you what, we'll try a different one because I think that's a bit blocked. There's some extra stuff that comes in the paid-for versions that doesn't come in the free versions, but I don't think it's anything serious, to be fair. Right, let's have a little look. Yeah, we'll try the two thin coats one because that one's got a little block in the end of it. Yeah, Gav saying Walking Dead's a quality game. 100%, mate. 100% it is. It was my one of my first forays. It was our first games on YouTube anyway, that's for sure. Basically saying, believe me, as a board gamer primarily these days, I'm always happy to see Mantic producing a range of stuff. Yeah, I think it's good to expand out. Board gaming is, as you've seen from things like UK Games Expo and Gen Con and stuff, board gaming is huge. It has a much wider appeal than maybe miniature gaming. So I think any company that's in and around that space would be a fool to just limit themselves if they've got a potential option to widen out a little bit. Ed says, didn't the Walking Dead license go to Free League? Not for the miniatures game, it didn't, mate. No, it was. I mean, it might have gone that way for an RPG, but I don't think anybody's got a Walking Dead license, mate, for the miniatures game. Certainly not linked to the comic books anyway. I know there's some board games and stuff out there with miniatures that are linked to the TV shows, but I don't think it's for the miniatures. BG says, since Simon don't seem to be interested in doing proper Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, maybe Mantic could go after a license. Hasn't there been there was a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles game, wasn't there? Which I believe had some quite nice miniatures in it. I'm not familiar with who made it, but I do seem to remember them. I guess I think the problem comes when it comes to miniatures games and licenses, especially when it's miniatures as opposed to a board game. You need to have enough options to flesh out the different kind of like factions and things like that. So for example, if you went down the line of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, like most people want to play as the Turtles, and then you're going to have sort of something like, you know, Bebop, Rocksteady, sort of Shredder, that kind of stuff. You're going to have April, and you're going to have sort of is it Kang and stuff like that. And then you're really starting to kind of get into some of the a bit more obscure ones, a bit more unusual ones that maybe people who are maybe not huge fans of the license, but like they like Turtles but don't sort of know the full kind of comic book history or anything. You start running out of options, and that's where these games get into problems, because where's the longevity in it? You have a little look at what Archeon are doing at the minute with He-Man, with their miniatures game. You kind of see that, like, some of the characters that they're bringing out as miniatures, like, they're really scraping the barrel when it comes to characters that people will have heard of, or the vast majority of people will have heard of. Bit of chat about Transformers and stuff. Kate saying, I'm excited for the Worms board game, will be silly fun. Yeah, I remember Ronnie telling me about it a long time ago when I was at Mantic HQ, and he told me that they had the license for it. I think it was when I was down talking about the Mantic board games division. He basically mentioned it then. Because in that video, if you go back and watch it, the eagle-eyed of you will see that there's a little 3D printed Worms character on the desk in front of us for that interview, and that was quite some time ago now. It's not something that instantly kind of springs to mind in terms of like board game, but I can imagine it'll be a lot of fun. I mean, that's the whole point. Worms was always a fun game. I remember playing it on Mega Drive and playing it on my friend's Amiga and stuff like that, so I've got fond memories of it. Right. So we'll just get some bits of metallics in here, paint up the chains. I'm not worrying about it being too perfect. We're gonna put a wash over the top of it anyway, so let's not worry about that. A few little bits I think we'll pick up a bit more brown as well. Krang, that was what it was, sorry, not Kang. Kang's off something else, isn't it? Kang's Marvel, that's what I'm getting mixed up with. Edson, Ralph Parther did the original Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, but that was for the RPG. There's definitely a board game or a miniatures game of Turtles, but I think it was a bit like Zombicide type thing, but it was definitely it's definitely that. And Paul saying, Masters of the Universe has the license for the whole of the Origins line. I agree, mate. I mean, but I think you're really targeting that kind of stuff at folks who are sort of hardened fans of it. Like, most people won't have kind of heard of half the stuff. I certainly haven't. And I would like to think that I kind of collected sort of more Masters of the Universe toys when I was a kid and stuff like that, but I'm obviously not that up on that kind of stuff. But I just think it's like, I mean, to the hardened fans, it's probably good, but to your average person playing miniatures games, it's probably like, the hell's all this stuff? You hear it now in the Marvel Crisis Protocol game. You hear people complaining about some of the characters that come out that they've never heard of, and that's Marvel with like quite a rich history, if you like. Visually saying if you do Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, you don't have to keep the ball rolling. I think the problem is, mate, you do have to keep the ball rolling. That's how they make their money, in it. That's the whole point. I think that's why they predominantly do that kind of stuff as a board game, really. So if you take Umbrella Academy as an example, like it works for the theme works for a board game because of the limited number of characters, but it doesn't work for a miniatures game. Captain Castle says, was the Worms-like video game voiced by Rick Mail something to do with pigs? Do you know what, mate? Rick Mail did do something, but it wasn't a Worms game, and I think it was pigs. I forget what it was called now. Ed's saying how they got Fisto. Yeah, I'm not sure, mate. Palladium published the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles RPG. Played a ton of that game. Yeah, Clyde, that might have been it, mate. Yeah, Shadows of the Past was at IDW. I do remember that now. VJ saying, I love the Monty Python, but absolutely, do I know how it's going to translate into a Zombicide game? Yeah, talk about we've got a license. We just need to do something with it now. That definitely was a strange choice. Right, I think what we'll do is we'll do some skin colours now, and we'll start with. We'll go a bit. I think we'll go a little bit brighter than normal because we're going to wash it down. I think we'll go with halfling skin for the dwarf, and then we'll wash it down. Hogs of War, that was it. Well done, Gav. Good shout. Type 40 Tartar says the same on He-Man miniatures board game has Fisto and Fisto on Strider. And Paul saying with MCP, it's the releasing of the same identity characters that bugger me. It doesn't bother me so much, that, mate, because the other characters have different stats and stuff like that, and they're different affiliations and different timelines within Marvel and stuff like that. But I mean, let's be honest, they've released hundreds of models now, or it feels like hundreds of models. I think we can kind of forgive the odd extra one here and there, and of course, it's all optional. You don't have to buy them, kind of thing. Not like some games where you feel obliged to buy everything. Right, I'm just going to try and get some skin colour in here. There you are. I'm really feeling the old eyes. I think if I wasn't on stream, I'd probably be doing this. But then you get the top of my head like that, don't you? There you go. Try that. VJ saying, I've had big trouble in Little China board game on my Amazon wishlist just for the minis for years. Cheapest copy is listed over $1,000 Australian dollars. I remember seeing that at UK Games Expo a few years ago for sale. And I think I'm trying to remember if I had a demo of it. Forget now. But I didn't buy it, put it that way. It can't have impressed me that much for whatever reason. They should do what the toy lines used to do. Instead of adding new characters, just make robot zombie scuba versions. Yeah, absolutely, mate. Just give them new costumes, then, and that's pretty much what they did, just to keep the coffers going. It's amazing when you watch some of those kind of old toy documentaries and stuff like that, and there's loads of them dotted about now about Transformers and about kind of Teenage Mutant Turtles and the toy lines and stuff. It's amazing how much of that stuff was just like repurposed from something else. Like the whole story of Battle Cat for He-Man was essentially just repurposing like a big tiger or something, or a lion or something, wasn't it? From like, and that was the reason it was so big compared to everything else. They basically just said, get that old mold for that tiger, stick a saddle on it, and yeah, he can ride that. It's quite interesting how that kind of stuff came about. VGC managed to pick up 2 truck scenery pack for MCP last night at the auction. Can't wait to see Hulk throw them around the table. Yeah, those trucks are okay. The only problem with the trucks is it makes it look like you get 2 trucks in the box, but there's only 1 truck. You get basically 2 backs for it, I think. You get to choose which back to use on it, but there's only 1 truck in it, but they make it look like it's 2. That's the problem with that pack. I mean, you can still use the truck with no front end on it as a scenery piece, but just a bit frustrating that it looks like it's something it's not. As you can see, I'm not being particularly careful on this. Gav says Netflix does a good toy documentary, Toys That Made Us. Yeah, I've watched all of them, mate. Many times. I love those shows. They're really good. Right, we'll give his beard and his hair a bit of colour, and then I think it's ready for a wash over that, I think. And I think what we'll do is we'll stick with the stereotype, and we'll go with a nice orangey brown, a nice bright orange, sorry. Let's go with Shaltari orange. Yeah, Captain Castle saying there, wasn't He-Man supposed to be a Conan toy, but the movie got R-rated? No, that's exactly right as well, mate. So basically, they're that's what I mean about repurposing old sculpts and stuff like that. And they created the whole He-Man line because they had this range of toys that they'd obviously put R&D money into in time, and couldn't do anything with them. Like I don't know why they thought that the Conan film was going to be a good license for toys, but never mind. Look, I was shocked how many of those shows I loved were created to sell a toy range, and I know at the time, mate, I don't think any of us kind of really thought about it back then. But like, yeah, but He-Man, Transformers, they were all just created. Even Dungeons and Dragons cartoon, to be fair, they were all created just to sell merchandise, weren't they? After the success of Star Wars and things like that, I think it was kind of all bets are off now for toy sales. But yeah, you forget how many of them were like that. The one about the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles is quite interesting, because I used to read the comic books when I was younger. I used to go to a local comic store and pick up the Turtles comics before they were kind of like the sort of the bit more child-friendly versions, the original black and white sort of graphic novels. And I remember picking them up and kind of reading them. And when it appeared on TV, it was like it was nothing like. I mean, the characters were the same, but it wasn't really anything like the comics. Like the grittiness had definitely gone. But yeah, it was definitely interesting. Because that's another one where on that show where they talk about it, and they talk about how they kept expanding the range and stuff like that, and basically just coming up with any old idea. Like Transformers was the same. That's where all of the beasts and the dinosaurs and all that kind of stuff come from. It was just a case of like, well, we've exhausted that range now. What do we do now to keep people spending? I find that kind of stuff interesting to watch, but yeah, very, very corporate greed side of things, I think. John says it still happens. The number of toys from Paw Patrol. You're absolutely right, mate. My little one, he's getting a bit older now for those kind of things. But some of the stuff that he is like sort of been into over the years. I mean, to be honest, flipping Jurassic Park dinosaurs. I feel like I've spent a small mortgage on buying different dinosaurs, like Jurassic Park ones. Right, as you can see, that is not perfectly painted. But once it gets a wash, we'll pick some bits out, and it'll all just come together there as well. So we'll let that dry a little bit. We'll let that dry, and then we can fine tune it afterwards. Right. I dry for 2 minutes and have a little chat in here. Have a drink of water. Let's have a little look. Yeah, VJ saying, yeah, damn, I thought it was two full trucks. Everyone does, mate. Everyone does until they find out. And Neil Pilot is, of course, they didn't stop Suits from making Conan and Robocop cartoon. Yeah, the Robocop cartoon wasn't quite the success, was it? Casey and Starcom was my favourite series made to sell a toy line. I don't think I'm not familiar with Starcom. Maybe it was after my time. That's what it must be. I'm a bit older than UK. VJ saying the funny thing, the entire 80s TV cartoon renaissance was due to the US government loosening the laws around advertising to kids. Yeah, that was it. I mean, if you watch the toys that made us kind of thing, those documentaries about like the Barbie toys and stuff like that, and about how difficult it was to advertise to kids, and essentially that they made those cartoons because they couldn't advertise on TV directly, but they could make a cartoon based on the toys, which was essentially like a 15 or a 30-minute advert, basically. Casey, my girlfriend sold off the last of her Starcom bits and bobs, and it all went for £700 odds and ends. Wow. Yeah, definitely not one I'm familiar of. Tiger Tails says, BlackJack, haven't seen you in my feed in ages. Such is life on YouTube, mate. How you doing? Captain Castle says Turtles were a Daredevil parody. That's right, yeah, they share an origin story. That's right, they get caught in the ooze. That's it. VJ says, are the Veman and Zord minis in the July vault for Overdrive as well? The Zord looking one, mate, is I'm not sure of the other one. I've not looked that close at it, to be fair. Ed's saying even more wholesome stuff like Bluey has massive toy ranges. I think, to be honest, I think it depends on how those things come about, because some of them come about as a cartoon or as a TV show, and then obviously they go on and sell merchandise. So in the same way, sort of like Bluey and kind of Paw Patrol and Teletubbies and all that kind of stuff. But I think the difference was the cartoons back in the 80s were designed as advertising tools to sell the toys. I think the toys were almost created first, and then these cartoons came along to basically try and sell them. I think that's the only difference. Yeah, Paul's saying there's 3 Overdrive models this week. So what I'll do is, while I'm thinking on, we were just chatting about this earlier on. If I can find, where's the button? There it is. This is the Kickstarter we were chatting about. So John Hodgson Backgrounds book, and it's basically a book which has a collection of 24 painted backdrops for your models and miniatures photography, and it's just an artist who is working alongside in collaboration with Annie from Bad Squiddo Games. I think she's basically helping out with some of the background stuff. And yeah, he's putting these books together which have some really nice kind of like landscape, very fantasy-esque, but because he's funded more than expected, he's actually doing a sci-fi book as well now. So you can see all these backgrounds. Basically, it's a spiral-bound book, A4 size, and then basically the idea is you just basically put it up against. Let me just put that in there. You put them up against the background, and basically put your miniatures in front, and then take a picture of them. We'll skip ahead a little bit. You can kind of see here. So these are the different kind of the images that's in the book. Let's see if I can skip ahead a little bit. I don't know if they got. I think he did some. There was just. Let's have a look. I think the video here where he basically explains what the Kickstarter is about. Let me scroll it. You can kind of see here. This is where it's on about using the backdrop. So essentially, just propping them up, putting a little bit of terrain or something in front, putting your mini on front, and then using them as background pictures. And I think it's a great idea. And it's something I was looking at as today when I saw this on Kickstarter. And I hadn't realised Annie was involved with it at the time until I watched the video. So no, I think it's really cool. I think it's really nice idea. It needed £150 to fund. It's up to £10,000 now. It's doing really, really well. And what that's done is as well, it's opened up lots of stretch goals. There's lots of different rewards available. Because they've reached the biggest stretch goal now as well, He's doing a sci-fi book as well, so you can buy both books for £34. I think it's pretty good value. There are some commercial licenses as well, so if you're a company who sells miniatures and you want to use these to basically sell your miniatures like with some nice pictures, there's commercial licenses as well. And if we get down to the stretch goals, so basically he has there's extra scenes going in, so there's now 32 scenes in the book rather than the 28 rather than 24 originally. There's some photography tips going in there now. There's a sci-fi backdrops book, and there's up to 30 backdrops, or be up to 30 now, because that's £10,000 it's at. So I think it's doing really well. But yeah, just check it out. It's nice to see somebody coming up with a good idea and kind of not necessarily being this kind of sort of massive back this Kickstarter, get hundreds and hundreds of minis. It's nice to do something a little bit different, and I think for the price, that's not too bad at all. So yeah, check it out, folks. Yeah, Clyde saying, yeah, I might get that. And Neil Pilot saying, seems a lot easier than taking a pic with my phone and printing it out after some editing. Yeah, and V saying, cool idea, building a stand into the book and also doing a fold out to a curved bottom setup will be good. I think they're just trying to keep it simple, mate, to be fair. I mean, for the price of it, it's not too bad. It's high quality. It was like 240 GSM paper as well, so it's not like kind of like thin stuff. I think they're just trying to keep it pretty straightforward. Pulls off the bed. Take care, mate. Nice to see you. Casing, if there's a sci-fi art, I might need to back it. Yeah, so I think the sci-fi, I haven't seen the sci-fi art yet, but I think because it's done so well, they've decided to kind of to paint some sci-fi stuff. Tizzy Brendan said, I missed several episodes when it first aired, so that's when I really wanted to get a copy. I think must be talking about that other show. Just says they bust through and it's way more pages now. He did first edition One Ring RPG and his art is beautiful. His Beowulf game and Mask Witches of Forgotten Doggerland are bloody lovely books. I'm not familiar with these other stuff, mate, to be fair. VG says also good to hear Mantic getting some new sculptors on board. Got to keep that vault filled. I don't think I hadn't heard that they got some new sculptors on board, mate, to be fair. Liverfish saying, yeah, great find, backed for both books. If you do back it, pop yourself into the comments on the Kickstarter and just say where you saw it. It's always nice to kind of like share sort of smaller creators, me being the smaller creator, and where you kind of see some of this Kickstarter stuff how things get backed. So yeah, don't forget to tell them where you saw it. VG says, didn't Paul say he was sculpting for Mantic? I'm not sure. I'm not sure if he's sculpting, mate. He could well be, but I think he's been working with him for a while, mate. To be fair, I don't think it's a recent thing. I think he's been around a little bit. Right. So I think what I'll do is we shall. What we got here? Flesh wash, battle mud wash. I think I'm going to use the Too Thin Coats battle mud wash. Just to wash over this one. Let's go, where are we at? That one. Got which button I was doing. Concept design, that was it. I knew you were doing something. I couldn't remember what it was. Clyde saying, oops, back that Kickstarter. Haxan says, can you remind me the email address for the painting challenge? Yes, it is BlackJack Legacy, all one word, @gmail.com. So blackjacklegacy@gmail.com. Right. We'll get a bit of a bigger brush here, and we're just going to slap on the wash. Just give it a bit of a coating over. Just thinning it down a touch. I don't want it to be too heavy. And I'm using the Too Thin Coats washes here because I just find they're a bit lighter than the GW ones. And I'm just going to kind of give it a bit of a grimy look, and then once it's all dry I'm going to come back and sort of highlight some bits up and things. But I'm just trying to keep these really simple, really. I'm not spending too much time on them. I'm not a pro painter, I don't profess to be. I like to just show you that you can get things done pretty quick, and that actually sometimes done is good enough. That's also the beauty of using a darker primer as well. If you miss any bits, then it's all in shadow anyway, so it looks like it's kind of, it's meant to be like that. If you use lighter primer, sometimes you can just you end up with really bright white bits that you've missed. Yeah, I'm just going to get in there and darken this down. I always like to just kind of, it's kind of a lazy way to do it, to be fair, but I always like to just use this almost as a base, and then almost play with it after that. Like just pick bits out, maybe put a little dry brush across the silvers just to highlight it, do a little bit more work on the skin, maybe kind of pick out a few bits on the hair and the beard just to highlight them up, maybe a little dry brush across the fur. It's amazing how much you can kind of just do that. So yeah, maybe done a little bit more skin, I think, around the eyes, but I've left them quite dark. I've maybe missed a little bit around there, but it's all stuff I will just pick up when it's finished. So yeah, there's that one done. Now, let's have a little look here. Clyde saying, need another rattle can of metal. Type 42 says, one of these days I'll get a camera and do a painting stream myself. It's amazing what you can do with a phone these days, mate, to be fair. Yeah, Captain Castle saying, knowing when to stop is half the battle with painting. For years, mate, that was probably my biggest problem, was just not knowing when to stop. Just kind of keep going and probably overdoing it. Right, I think what we'll do is we're going to do a bit of, we're going to do a little bit of dry brushing on the board. So I think we'll go with, I've got a colour here called Frosted Edge, which is kind of a very pale blue, and I'm going to use that for the dry brush rather than a bright white. I'm just going to use my board there as well. So get some of that on. That says my wife's phone is a better camera than my camera now. Yeah, they're coming a long way, mate. Casey, it doesn't matter what your skill level is, painted minis look great. I applaud anyone who takes the time to get it done, no matter how they might think they compare to others. Comparing to others is the last thing we should be doing, really. I mean, by all means, if you want to be a competition painter and all that kind of stuff, by all means, you can, you know, you can kind of look to others for inspiration and compare to them. But if you're like me and you're just painting, first and foremost for a hobby, and secondly, for like maybe to play games, it doesn't really matter. Like if you're happy with it, that's all that matters. Right, so I'm gonna lightly just rub over this. I'm just gonna pick these out. Because some of these I might even just like leave this colour, and some of them I'll maybe put a bit more colour into them. But all I'm trying to do is just pick up on the highlights. They're really nicely sculpted. They're really nicely produced. So let the sculpting do the hard work for you, really, when it comes to this kind of stuff. You can kind of see between the two of them there. I'm really lightly just working into the tip, and then just build it up a bit at a time. And I'm kind of going like circular motions, really, just so that it picks up on all the different ridges. Neil Pilot says, if it's rank and flank soldier, sometimes I do an all-over wash after base coating, though now I've started to pretty much dark line the recesses with washes or inks. Yeah, I think I just don't have the patience, mate, generally most of the time. I generally do just like an all over wash really, and then I come back and sort of do it, would I class it as a highlight? I suppose it is a highlight really, but sometimes I'm just coming back with the original base colours and just adding a bit more detail to them really, just finishing them off. But yeah, you can see where there's a lot of detail in them actually that you don't have to do too much work with them. I was going to put more colour and stuff into them, but I think we'll just see how it looks with a dry brush, to be honest, and then worry about the saddle and stuff like that. Luke says, I thought you were a fan of zenithal priming to start. I am generally, mate, but the problem with this is it's going to be dark. So it's a Raven, so the vast majority of it is going to be dark anyway. So if it was like another model, I probably would have done. I don't know why I didn't with the dwarfs, to be honest, mate. I think I just dove in a bit quick. I would normally have kind of like zenithal, at least kind of like dry brushed it anyway. I suppose the kids call it slap chop these days, don't they? But it's just what I've been doing forever really, about giving it a dry brush of white really, more just to pick out the details and then. See, I'm starting to, just to compare that one to the one that's not done. You just kind of see it's starting to come out now a little bit. Captain Castle says, I hear paint names that don't include the colours. Frosted blue, yes. Frosted edge, I know some of them are a bit funny like that, mate. They've got some good colours, to be fair. And a lot of them do have the name of the colour in them, the TT Combat ones. But yeah, they don't all, unfortunately. This is basically like the next one up from white. So if I compare it to the white, I don't know how well it'll show up on camera, but you can see how similar they are. Probably brighten it out a little bit. You can see a little bit there. There's definitely a more bluey tinge in this one than there is in the white. Gav says, I'm a lazy painter and I airbrush as much as possible. Airbrush is something I do from time to time, but I must admit I probably never use it as much as I probably should. I used to do a lot of base coating and zenithal priming and stuff like that with it, and certainly colouring in big batches, but one of the things that stopped me using it as much was Colourforge primers, because the Colourforge primers were so good that I didn't even like, I almost didn't get the rattle. I didn't get the airbrush like out as often, because the spray cans were doing such a good job. So, and now it's all set up in the garage outside, and I'm sitting painting here. So it was different when I was working out there. But yeah, I don't use it as much as I used to. I've still got my portable ones as well, and I use them from time to time. Little touch-ups and things like that, or little sort of zenithal lights and things like that. But what I find is when I'm painting stuff like for on stream, or I'm painting stuff like for tutorial type stuff, one of the complaints you generally always get is oh, I haven't got an airbrush, this tutorial's no good kind of thing. So I try to do those kind of things as sort of inclusive as possible, really. But yeah, it's to be honest, like, I mean, it's set up and ready to go, but it's still a system that needs sort of cleaning afterwards and that kind of stuff. So it's still like, it's not the zero time effort type thing compared to maybe a dry brush or something. Luke says, yeah, that makes sense. I still use certain prime for different minis depending on how I want to finish it up. Yeah. Captain Castle said, I think my wife gets sick of me asking what colour my paints are. Yeah, I can imagine that, mate. I can only imagine how frustrating that must be when you're like, when you're just not sure. So, and start off with that kind of pale blue. I think what I might do is I'm going to try something here. I'm going to come in with this throw-in shade, which is a very sort of deep blue, and I'm going to just try and lightly dry brush the kind of the front edge and darken down that front edge a little bit. Let's get a little bit more. Hacksan's saying, he's enjoying the TT combat paints. Yeah, I'm quite enjoying them myself tonight, mate. It's the first time I've used them in any kind of anger, really. Lucian, I don't consider airbrushing lazy. I think it's lazier to not bother getting the airbrush out. Yeah, you're probably right, mate, to be fair. Night Ed, thanks for popping in, matey. Hope you're well. These are kind of blocked up a little bit. We just get a little pin or something like that. See what we've got in the drawers here. Let's try and if that clears it a bit. I can see a paint disaster happening here. Taking this top off a second. Oh, Gav said, I thought you were going to say that the compressor was too loud for recording. Nah, not so much, mate, no. Sully's Emporium. Hello there, since just joined the stream, can anyone tell me where this model is from? It is from Mantic Games, mate. It is their new Frost Claws. So they're on pre-order at the moment, and I was fortunate enough to get my hands on a pre-release, an early version. So, right, let's see if that helps. Should have just had a pin, but it was. There we go. We got there in the end, and no disasters. Disaster averted. Right, so no idea how this is going to work. We can but try. We're just gonna. What's the worst that happens? If it looks garbage, we just might put a little bit much on there, but try and do that first kind of row of feathers. Gus says, I thought you were going to say the compressor was too loud for recording. Yeah. No, not the case, mate. Tizzy Brain Drinking is a newbie who doesn't have an airbrush. I'm glad you make your vids like that. You're welcome, mate. I think it's just surprisingly, my airbrush videos that I've done in the past are some of my most popular videos. And if I was in this for the money, I think I'd be better off doing an airbrush channel, the way the views go for those videos. But yeah, it's surprising. There's quite a lot of folks just are not interested in airbrushing or don't have an airbrush. And I tend to find that whenever I do one, they get lots of views, but there's always comments about, I don't have an airbrush. Don't know how to do it. So like the Star Wars Shatterpoint one I've just done for the terrain, I need to get finished editing, but I've been sidetracked with other stuff. Is intentionally done without an airbrush because I've seen a lot of people airbrushing their Shatterpoint stuff. So I'll just try and get a little bit of blue into there. Yeah, Gav says the cleaner's a pain. With time to clean over time with a brush makes a pain worth it. Yeah. Captain Castle said, I painted pink Deathwing when I was at school. Thought they were bone coloured. Took them to show with my buddies, much teasing ensued. Yeah. And Vijay said he's planning his Japan 24 trip for the whole family. Nice, mate. Have you been to Japan before, mate, like with a family? Or is it, would this be your first time? I guess we think of going to Japan as like being miles away, but I guess for you guys over in Australia, it's quicker than going to Spain. So we're off on a cruise this year. I've been on a cruise before, but my wife and little one hasn't. So that's going to be their first time. So that should be fun. I'm looking forward to that. Right, I'm just putting a little bit of blues through the front of that as well. I think we'll probably wash it down at some point. So that the blues are a bit brighter than I planned on them being at the moment. I think that's where I'm just going to try and just pull some different blues in and stuff like that, and just try different things. So we'll try a little bit of let's try a lighter blue. What should we try? We've got EA blue. EA blue, it's in the game. Clyde says, I bet the Ravens would have taken the Hobbits to Mordor. I bet they would have done that as well. I bet they would. Just blend these in a little bit. You know what, folks? I've got absolutely no idea what I'm doing here. I'm just I was going to say I'm winging it, but that sounds like a proper pun there, doesn't it? I'm just kind of winging it, really. I think what I'll probably do is I'll probably wash it down, maybe like with a black wash or something like that, just to dull it down a little bit. But yeah, I've got I had absolutely no plan when I started this. I just started putting colours on it. I would not recommend painting like this, just kind of winging it as you go. But I'm just seeing how it goes. I'm just enjoying the process of painting something. So that's kind of how it goes at the minute. And I think what I'll do is I'll very lightly go back to that light blue again and put a really, really light covering on. Yeah, Vijay's seen he's been twice and once with his wife. This time the first time with the whole family. Nice one, mate. Vijay's in white comment, I don't have an airbrush in an airbrush video. That's like saying I don't have a chicken on a how to raise chickens video. You'd be surprised what people comment on videos, mate. You would be surprised. Nothing surprises me anymore now. After doing this for a number of years. Vijay saying it's only 8 to 10 hours away, depending on flights. Yeah, I guess that's more like us flying to the States, to be fair, mate. But it's, I guess Australia's, it's a big old country to fly over in the first place, isn't it? Like, I went to Mallorca at the weekend, and it was like a less than 3 hours, 2 hours 20 minutes, something like that, 2 hours 40 minutes. That's why we just went for the weekend. It's quicker than driving to London. And cheaper, to be fair. And the weather was fantastic. Oh. I'm not really sure if I like this or not, to be fair. I'm just in one of those like, don't really know what I'm doing anymore now. Just clean up the brush there a little bit. Take care, Gav. Thanks for coming in, mate. Super Pokemon says, I found the only way I prefer is a highlight, and I start with a medium grey primer, then a black from the bottom and a white near the top. To be honest, mate, I tend to find that I'm quite happy to just go with black, prime everything, and then just go white from above. But if I do it with an airbrush, like it builds it up in thin layers, so you can almost, like, your first coat of white is almost grey anyway because it's a bit see-through, and then you build it up to the higher spots. So needs some clean water, I think. That'll do for now. I'll clean that up after the stream. I'll wipe that out. Casey, and now I want to think something weird to comment in a video to surprise you. Famous last words, that, isn't it? Nothing surprises me anymore. What the heck's that? 100%. Captain Castle says there's a massive list of places I'd rather live in the UK. Yeah, me too, mate. There's a couple of times I've almost moved abroad, and for one reason or another, it's never really kind of sort of come to anything more than that. But yeah, I tell you what, I'm just gonna. What am I gonna do with this? I wouldn't say I was 100% happy with this. It started off in my head as something else, so I think we're gonna do. We'll park that one. That might be something that gets primed again. We'll see how our little dwarf's getting on. Let's zoom in on him a little bit. But he's starting to dry off quite nicely. So, where was the brush I was using? Was that it? Yeah. Clay says, as a father, you're entitled to drive them all to the pad with dad drugs. Yeah. Superman says, is it just because the way my eyes are, I actually can see the difference in the shading? And Mordecai said, I think a black wash will tie it together. Do you know what, mate? I think a black. I was thinking the black wash as well, and I thought, do I? I'll tell you what, let's give it a black wash and see what happens. Just we're experimenting tonight, folks. We're just trying, aren't we? What we got? Let's have a look. Flesh wash, black wash. Let's just stick a black wash over it and see what it does. Because at the end of the day, it doesn't really matter, does it? Because we can always start again. Captain Castle says the best use of an airbrush is with no paint, just to blow air and dry paint quicker. I'll use a hairdryer for that, mate. Right, let's get the big wash brush out. See what it does. To be honest, I'd even considered going over it with black contrast paint, just to darken it down. I'm not 100% happy with it. It needs a lot more work, but you know what? I've got a brush in my hand. I'm with friends. How much better does it get? Not everyone's a banger, as the kids would say. Yeah, a few years ago, I'm going back quite some time ago, I had an opportunity to go and live in America with my job, and the kids were quite young, and I decided it wasn't the right time, I think, so we didn't go. And I would say I kind of regret it, except like sliding doors moments and that, like my life changed completely and stuff like that. So if that had been the case, I wouldn't have my little boy now, because I wouldn't have met my current wife. I might still have split up with my other wife, but I wouldn't have met my current wife. So saying current wife, like that's a like that's a temporary thing. My wife that I'm with. But yeah, so all things work out, don't they? All things work out as they do. Get a bit more wash on that, I think. Captain Castle said Australia is one of the few places not on my list, but only because of spiders. And Vigi says they can't all be bangers is pretty much my life motto at this stage. You're right, mate. That's me as well. Greg Cherry Yellow, mate. He said, I thought you were painting Shatterpoint. I have the three. All I have is 3 Mandos left. I've not started the minis yet, mate. To be fair, I've been painting the terrain, and then I've been busy with other video commitments and stuff like that. So, but no, I got sent these early from Mantic Games this week. So these arrived yesterday, and as I'd already said, I was going to do a painting stream. I thought, let's give these a bit of a go. But certainly tone it down a little bit anyway. Vigi says, oh God, no, I live in the US. I couldn't think of anything worse. To be honest, mate, I mean, we were going to be living near Philadelphia. So that's kind of where it would have been on the East Coast. And obviously it was with a job as well. So like there was loads of perks involved with kind of, you know, healthcare and all that kind of stuff. So a lot of the initial issues wouldn't necessarily be much of a problem, and obviously it would be well paid because you're not going to move your family abroad for something that's not well paid. But I've also had the option to, like, one of the reasons that like my old job was like the next move up for me was to move into Europe and stuff like that, and obviously it was before COVID times, so the ideas of people working at home like weren't quite as prevalent as they are now. The idea was if you're going to go and work on the European accounts, you've got to be sort of based over in Europe for it. So yeah, I don't regret it, as much as this country has its problems at times. At least I know where I stand. So right, yeah. It's starting to pull it back a little bit anyway. I think it needs. I quite like the blue, rather than plain black, but I think it just needs more work. That's all. It's too more. I think it's missing other colour. Like this needs to be the saddle or the stand needs painting, and the ropes need putting in, and we need some work on down here and stuff. But I think with a little bit of kind of like lightening up the edge of the feathers and stuff, it might not be the end of the world. Right, we'll park that for a bit. Clyde says, as a globe hopper, it's important to get the cheaper minis that are based in that country before you move on. I think there's cheaper ways to get cheap minis, mate, than keep moving countries. There definitely is. How we're doing for time? 5 to 11. Right, I think I'm gonna probably call that a night for painting tonight. We'll go back to the main screen. We'll sit and have 5 minutes chat and stuff while I wind down a bit. In fact, let me turn that light off there. Is that? And now the other ones are not very bright at that. Let me just put out. I'll turn that camera off. There we go. And we'll chill for 5. While I have a little wind down. Captain Castle saying gloss varnish on that Raven will work well. Get that shine. Yeah, I think it just needs a bit more work. I like the ideas of having blue on it, and I think maybe it just needs a bit more. Like it's just blue at the minute. That's the problem. It needs more. There's so much texture to it. It needs more things. A little bit of white dry brushing towards the tips of the feathers and stuff like that. I think will really set it off. And maybe a darker shade to the front of them and stuff like that as well. Paul says, I think you've used a shade of blue that's too light. To be honest, mate, I mean, that was the blue that I used. It's the darkest blue in the TT Combat range. So I think if I keep building that one up, it's maybe just with it being dry brushed over that. I think that's probably what it was. So yeah, it's or maybe mix it with a little bit of black or something like that. Clyde saying, I assume plastic glue isn't going to work on the older Mantic stuff. Plastic glue will work on the plastic models, but not on PVC or resin. So yeah, if it's plastic models, then plastic glue will work. Yeah. Start with a mixture of black and a very dark blue. Yeah, I thought, like I say, mate, I thought I had started with a dark blue, to be fair, but it ended up looking a lot lighter than I thought it would. Greg says, I paint every day pretty much and can't imagine having such an organised space. Impressive. Do you know what, mate? This is where I work. I do everything here. Like I do film my videos here. I do my live streams here. It has to be organised for me. First of all, you see it on camera, so it has to be kind of organised. And second of all, I need to work here, so I need the space to kind of keep it all organised. To be fair, you just pop some of these back here. That one that's the silver from there. Pop them back in. There we go. And we'll sort those ones out after the stream's finished, I think. Also, you want to try dark sky from Army Paint or dark Prussian blue from Vallejo models, and even then start with a 50-50 mix with black. Yeah, I don't have them colours, mate. I'm not buying them specifically for this. I've got GW colours and things like that. I mean, what's the darkest blue I've probably got is probably like a Night Lord's blue or something like that. But yeah, I'll just mix something with a bit of black tomorrow. And Greg saying, I just shove everything from one side to the other, I'm assuming. Yeah, it's nice to have a designated space. I know Captain Castle saying he doesn't have one there. Just slowly spread over the dining table until the family gets sick of it. To be honest, it is nice, and I appreciate how fortunate it is to have my own space and stuff like that. And I kind of like to sit here and chill, even if I'm just like doing work on the laptop and stuff. It's quite nice to have a little bit of painting area and stuff. Excuse me. Well, folks, we're up to 11 o'clock now. We've had a couple of hours. I've quite enjoyed that. If you could do me a huge favour, folks, if you can give the video a thumbs up if you've enjoyed it. If you have enjoyed it, I'd really appreciate it if you went back to the video when it goes like sort of as a like after the stream, if you like, and leave a comment in the video. It does just help kind of push it out a little bit. I quite enjoy doing these kind of like random chats and painting random models and bits and pieces and stuff like that. And it's nice just to kind of hang out and not really have any main aim to it, really. So yeah, just on that one, Paul's saying Cantor blue. So that just shows you the difference between them. So the darkest one is the one I used. The other one is Cantor blue. So it just shows you how dark the blue is that I used. It is really, really dark in comparison. I think it's just because it's kind of being dry brushed. Maybe if it was kind of a bit heavier over the top, it might have made a difference. So anyway, but yes, thank you very much, folks. So we'll be back on Monday with Monday Night Live Stream. If folks have enjoyed this, like I say, come back to this video, leave a comment in the on the video. Let me know if it's something that you want to see more often. I know these won't get a huge amount of views, but if you folks are enjoying them and I'm enjoying them, what's the harm? What's the harm in it, eh? So yeah, take care, folks, and I will see you on Monday.